Hello, welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk. Once again, we're going to be talking about the college football realignment carnival that is going on. This carnival of madness. These conferences are making no sense whatsoever, and what is going to transpire in future realignment scenarios? What happens to the 4-pack now? Is the Big 16 getting bigger? Will the Big 10 add two more to get to 20? What's the status of Florida State? These are some of the burning questions that we'll be discussing in this video, and hopefully provide some of my 2 cents that are worth about, a peso, and or not even that. The old Italian lira that just made, just is nothing. But let's go ahead and just dive in. We'll start off with Florida State. Florida State is if I already mentioned before, I was looking to try to explore the possibilities of exiting the ACC. Now they've hired J.P. Morgan Chase to look into equity, see what they can muster it up to get the necessary funds to bolt. So right now I think the exit could cost upwards to $300 million and $30 million payments over 10 years. That's a lot of cheddar. And could Florida State do it? Possibly. Would it be beneficial for them? Yeah, I could see that because they see themselves losing the money race, especially with their in-state rival Florida. Florida gets about $20-30 million more per year than Florida State. You can't compete with that type of revenue, and that means more money goes to the athletic program, more money goes into the facilities, upgrade the facilities, give them top-notch, equipment. Recruits are going to see that. They're going to see that, okay, if I go to Florida, I'll have, better equipment, better trainers, better recovery. And I go to Florida State, yeah, I'll get good equipment, good recovery, but it's like a notch below. And that's what's driving, I think, the ACC, a lot of those members, especially the bigger programs that have more success on the football field, to look at other avenues because they're falling behind the arms race. Which kind of led to the demise of the Pac-12. They couldn't find a deal in place that would really help them out, especially when USC and UCLA both bolted. The Pac-12 went inept. They didn't do anything to get their conference where they needed to go. They couldn't get anyone to really kind of pay in the money. ESPN wasn't going to go pay the money they want because they don't have USC and UCLA. The Pac was relying on Oregon and Utah and Washington and Stanford and the Arizonas and the Colorados and Cal to kind of carry the torch. And no one's buying it at all. Even with the possibility of trying to get San Diego State and SMU, they still could not get anything going. Even San Diego State teetered with the possibility of the Mountain West to join them. Nothing happened. San Diego State had no inclination that the Pac was looking to expand. San Diego State goes back to the Mountain West. Colorado bolted because nothing was getting made on the front of TV deals. Arizona was starting to lay the road to also leave. Then talks heated up about Oregon and Washington going, and then all the rumors came out. No, it's stalling. Nothing happened. Next thing you know, on a drop of a hat, Oregon and Washington were in the Big 10. Utah and Arizona State also bolted for the Big 12, joining Arizona and Colorado, and that left the four outside just standing around going, WTF. ACC doesn't want that. ACC likes where they're at. A lot of the institutions like being together, much like the Pac was as well. But once you start bringing money into the equation of these relationships, that drives our wedge in anything. All those who have been in relationships understand that money does dictate a lot of things. And that's what it is. These are just the presidents of these universities looking to make more money. And the best way to go about it is trying to get into the conferences that have the biggest paydays, which is the Big Ten and SEC. And for the most part, the Big 12 is getting up there as well. So they're looking, trying to get those 3 conferences, and maybe that's what it'll boil down to. We'll go from the Power 5 to the Power 3. And I think that's where we'll end up going eventually. I think once ACC term is up. But with that being said, let's go over some scenarios that could possibly play out. So right now, like I said, Florida State is trying to find ways to get out. I think it will happen sooner rather than later, or probably later than sooner. I don't think it's going to happen this season. Maybe next season or season after that. But one of the rumors that people have Florida State going is the Big Ten. Get the Big Ten up to 19, and then Big Ten probably grab Stanford. Get them to 20. What's the possibility for them to go to 20? There's a problem with that. Florida State doesn't meet requirements. So what do you mean requirements? Florida State's one of the those premier football programs. The Big Ten will be happy to get a program down there in Florida to help with recruiting. You're right. It would. The Big Ten also values academics more than athletics. For a member to be added to the Big Ten, they must be in AAU before they're added. But wait, Nebraska's not AAU. That's right. But Nebraska was when they were added into the Big Ten. Only later did they get kicked out. Now, the Big Ten could kick out Nebraska altogether. It's like, you lied to us. Why? But Nebraska is also one of those big-time programs that you're not going to do that. Now, Florida State's no slouch academically. Just let me point that out to you straight right away. They're an R1 research institution, so their academics are up there. But the Big Ten has a requirement. You must be a member of the AAU, and they are not. Miami is. Not Florida State. So Florida State would be more of an SEC target. I think the SEC would definitely gladly gobble them up if they became available. And with that being said, I think if Florida State does leave, they'll be independent. They'll go back to the days of Bobby Bowden being independent, sticking to the teams. I remember those games against New Holtz and Notre Dame. Those games, every time it's like, yeah, we got it, no tie, or we end up losing, or we beat them, and then we lose to Boston College. It was some of those championships in those early 90s could have gone either way to like Miami, Florida State, Notre Dame. It was just that big of a deal between those programs. But that was then. This is now. This is not the time frame. Florida State being independent probably won't be able to. Let me kind of rephrase that. I think Florida State will do well on its own because it does have enough other teams they can take on to fill in their schedule. They can do something like Notre Dame does, have 5 games against ACC every year. Plus they have the game against Florida. That's 6 games they got locked. That's counting 6 others. I think schools will find ways to take on Florida State. But as of right now, I'll leave Florida State and ACC, and they'll try to find ways to make things work out. Maybe they can find some ways to retool their contract with ESPN. And I doubt that. ESPN's like, no, we got you for this price. You're staying here. So unless they can break up that deal and go, no, we want a new one. But that's a topic for a different time. And let's go back to the Big Ten, since I did kind of mention that with them going to 20. And a lot of people want Florida State in the Big Ten, but they won't. My dream scenario, Stanford and Notre Dame get added. I'm a Notre Dame fan, one of the few out there that scream that they need to be in the Big Ten, period, dot. Notre Dame has stated they're happy right now for where they're at. They're still reading the landscape of the conference realignment. I don't think they join a conference until after 2030. I think that's when the ACC will probably start to break up at that time frame, and that's when they'll probably join a 24-member Big Ten. So me, I would love to have them in there. Not going to happen. So the most likely scenario: Stanford and Cal get added, complete the West Coast absorption. So you have, Seattle, Portland, the Bay, and LA all in the Big Ten umbrella. They're all AAU programs. Upon entry, meets the requirements. That gives all the West Coast schools enough games within their region to kind of keep them happy, as they make sure they play each other. That's 5 games you got, 5 games you got locked up every year. Makes them happy, and you can rotate the other 3 as best way you possibly can, and you go from there. But another scenario that's popped up with the 4-pack is that they merge with the Mountain West. There's a problem with that. Not going to happen. As much as it makes sense for them to do that because they have to find a home, they will not drop to the Mountain West. And that's what they would consider. It is a drop to go from the Pac to the Mountain West. I mean, nothing against the Mountain West programs at all. Nothing against them. I mean, they have some very fine athletic teams. They have some very fine academic institutions. But they're a group of 5 conference. Four Power 5 schools are not going to join a group of 5 conference. You're going from teams that used to make up to upwards to $30 million to down to 4. That means they had to make huge cuts in their athletic budgets. Now, I did propose this a while back as well, and I think it was like one of the fans of Oregon State or Washington State, you're a fan or alum, saying that they would drop athletics before they do that, because that's just such a downgrade. And it's like, well, sometimes you have to make sacrifices to make things work, but I don't think they'll drop athletics or drop football or anything like that. But now I understand where that individual is coming from. Because even Cal and Stanford has somewhat flirted the idea as if they end up dropping to the Mountain West, they'll drop football. So I don't see that one happening. There's also talks if that happens, Stanford's going to go independent. I don't think Stanford had the same staying power like Notre Dame or Army or, as a matter of fact, BYU has at being independent. They're not a huge national brand in terms of football, but it is weird. But there's also another scenario that could be a rebirth. Try to grab the best of the remaining group of 5 programs to generate a new Pac-12. And some of them were some familiar names have popped up in past videos of what the Pac should do. And I've always said they should come to the Pac-14 and grab 4 programs. And we had a little spout with someone about a certain program over another. And it's going to be about, the same scenario. Because if the 4 stay together, you need 8 to be a conference in the FBS level. That's your minimum requirement, is 8. So then, at least they need to get at least San Diego State, Fresno State, and Boise State from the Mountain West. If they can get those 3, that'll give them a nice, huge leg up on possibly some other possible scenarios, and they'll kind of solidify that West Coast area as best as they possibly could. It's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. Now they could just add one more and go to back to the Pac-8. But I have a feeling they want to stretch their brand, try and get more eyes on them. So they're going to try to go into Texas, which is one of the targets that was being rumored, and try to get SMU to join. Now, I've always said if you go grab SMU, you have to grab another, and that said Rice. And this is where I got into a heated discussion. It's like, why would you take Rice? They don't have anything. They're athletically poor, especially in football. They haven't done anything in years. Should take UTSA. I get that. I do. However, Rice would be a academic addition. Rice is AAU. UTSA is not. UTSA is an R1 research institution. I'll give them that one. But they would take Rice over UTSA for the mere fact of academics, which would please Stanford and Cal. And to continue that trend, they will also grab Tulane. Why not grab the school that beat USC in last year's Cotton Bowl? Kind of a stab there. Now, before I said they probably won't go into New Orleans and Memphis, I figured it'd be too far east. Geography would be damned in these conference realignment scenarios nowadays. I miss the days of regionalized conferences that made a little bit more sense. You can almost travel to your to a game via car. Not anymore. You gotta get on planes now. But that's just me writing about something else. But that'll be another AAU institution. So that's before within the conference. Decent program, newer stadium in New Orleans. If they probably could play in the Superdome every so often. And that's that. Now we'll give them to 10. I say go back to 12. I'll grab Memphis before the Big 12 could. I know there's also another stretch, but they're also putting money in their facilities as well. Also kind of gets them into the SEC country. Probably don't get much out of it. And for that 12th member, I flirted with the idea. I flirted with UTSA because it is definitely a program on the rise. But stop there. They're too young. Way too young. They've only been doing football for 11 years. Give them time. UCF started in 79. They just now got to the power conference level. I think you need at least 25 years on your belt as a program to give a good metric of how you recruit, how you're able to utilize the talent that you got to create a winning and successful programs, and how you manage your lean years over your prosper years. So as much as I like to put UTSA in there, because San Antonio is one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S., and I understand the draw to get there. I do. Heck, I would love it. I'm not going there. I thought about putting UNLV back in here. It's UNLV I had as originally added to the Pac-14. I did not. I can still see that going there. But so I put another team in this region to kind of help give these schools their own little group of schools that always face each other, balance their schedule out best as they possibly could, limit the amount of times they go out to the West Coast. And it brought in one that had the second most wins in the American Conference. That's Tulsa. If all the schools are the American, Tulsa has the second most behind Navy. So definitely grab them. Get you into Oklahoma. Another hotbed for football fanatics. So I know it's not really quite the pack you kind of think of, but if they're able to do a rebirth of the Pac-12, I think this is where they could go. They may not go up to this extreme. They may pull back Tulsa and Memphis. Heck, they may pull back Tulane and put another one out in the western area like UNLV or Nevada or something like that. Or possibly even Colorado State is their name that's floating out there. But this is the version of the 12 I think they can do. But the probability of that is extremely low. And there's been talks of the Big 12 trying to possibly expand. Now, talks of them adding Oregon State and San Diego State have now cooled off. There was rumors floating out there that those two were being targeted by the Big 12 to be added. And I get that because I'm on the West Coast. But I think if Cal and Stanford do get added to the Big 10, there's also rumors that the rest of the pack will also get added to the Big 12, just get merged in there and create the Big 20. For right now, I'm going to call them the Big 16 for right now. But I don't think they'll go that direction. However, I do. Let's just go in the scenario that Cal Stanford got added to the Big 10, makes the Big 10 a 20-member conference. The Big 12 will look at Oregon State, Washington State, and say they're quality programs. They can, definitely ruffle some feathers and probably at least be a bowl-eligible teams multiple years. So they can grab Oregon State, Washington State, and go grab two more. I'll say Memphis has be one of their prime targets. They looked at expansion before, and they did not jump at the opportunity. One, because the Liberty Bowl needed some updates, and they had the outgoing president didn't want to make the incoming president have something he didn't want. I don't see him going to SMU, even though it does make sense, but that's a 15 in Texas. I don't think the rest of the league would kind of go, yay, no, we're not going to be a Texas-centric conference. You have 4 there, that's enough. Tulane makes in there a good case. Put a team in San Diego State, or maybe go San Diego State, Fresno, try to get San Diego State or Fresno State instead of Memphis. It's another possibility. I don't see them going to California. I think the Mountain West is going to hold tight until the very end. And then they'll get Memphis and my dark horse, South Florida. I know UConn's been mentioned in the Big 12, but I don't see them leaving the Big East at all. And UConn football is not something you can write home about because they don't have very good years. They've had one or two. I mean, yes, they went to a BCS Bowl. But I'm going with South Florida. They are going to get their own stadium. They're not going to be sharing with the Buccaneers anymore. Good rivalry with UCF, the War in I-4. Yes, they are a younger football program, but they do have 20 years under their belt, so they do have some history there. So I still say put the Bulls in here. Gets 2 teams in Florida, and you have 2 teams for the Ohio River area with Cincinnati, West Virginia. Memphis in between with Iowa State as well. And you got the 2 Pacific Northwest, Washington State, Oregon State. This once again be a geographical huge conference, become the Big 20. You can't go from there. Now, the probability of these scenarios playing out, who knows? Really, I think Cal Stanford going to Big 10, I think it has a higher priority of this list. Florida State leaving the ACC, I think is also up there as well. Where they land is another question, but I'm think it's going to be more SEC than Big 10. They could go to Big 12 until they throw everything out of the water. Because the Big 12 money is better than ACC money. The Big 12 going to 20, it really depends. If they can get Florida State to join, possibly they go that direction. Or maybe they get sympathetic with Oregon State, Washington State, and toss them a lifeline. I don't know. I mean, if they do it that way, they can have, in-the-year clashes still remain with the Big 10, Washington and Oregon. I mean, that would really help solidify a lot of these anxieties. And the Pac-12 rebirth. It's another possibility because, like I said, I don't see them merging with the Mountain West. I think Oregon State, Washington State may do that just for survival, but Cal and Stanford will not. They won't do it. They'll really go independent or just drop. They do that, then they just, they'll lose all sorts of money that way. But that's my take. Right now, it's kind of quiet, which is kind of scary. You kind of see where things go play out because we don't know what's going to happen with the Pac. We're uncertain about the Florida State situation. We don't know if the Big Ten's done or the Big 12 or Big 16's done. SEC right now is also quiet. I think SEC has stated in the past they're happy at 16 and they're not exploring any other options and see how the 16-team format plays out first before they consider going any further. I think that means we're waiting until the ACC breaks up and then we're raiding the ACC. I think they'll go in there and snag, 8 teams out of there to get to 24. And I'll give them the areas they haven't been in before, like Virginia and North Carolina. But that's a topic for a different time frame, and I can go into the spiel of what I could see what the mega conferences are going to be like. The almost like 3 huge leagues that be floating around. But hey, just let me know down below what you think. When you think of these scenarios, I know a lot of them are kind of far stretched, and I did kind of ramble and mix them up a bit. But it is a confusing time dealing with the realignment scenario. We know everything is driven by money. That's all it is. University presidents are throwing tradition out the window. They don't want to do anything with the past. They want to set new futures. One that gives them the most money in their pockets. It's all about the Benjamins. Do you think it's going to be a time frame where the power conferences, what's left of them, just form their own branch of college football? Like a Premier League almost, per se. I think this is where it's going. I don't really like where this is going. I like more of the traditional aspect, try to keep much of the old school rivalries together as much as possible, especially if they've been playing for like 100 years. And you're going to just toss it aside like it was nothing. Like it meant nothing to you. I don't get it, but I'm not a university president. But let's mix it up in the comments below. Let's keep it civil. Once you're there, go ahead and hit that thumbs up for me, especially like the content provider. Really pleases the YouTube algorithms and really promotes this video out. You can also subscribe. Check my channel links, but now 90% of you are not subscribed. Doesn't cost you anything. It helps me provide more videos for you. Then you can also, once you do that, you can click that bell icon, turn on notifications, let you know next time I post any more content on my channel. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.